In today's video, I am going to react to this video titled A New Approach to the Carnivore versus Vegan Debate.
Okay, it's time to set the record straight once and for all with this carnivore versus plant based thing. Both sides think they're right and the other side is wrong. Meat eaters will say we are designed to eat meat, and the plant eaters say we're designed to eat plants. Let's keep morality, ethics, environmental impact, and sentimental emotions out of it for a minute and just look at it from a strictly biological point of view. Let me answer the most common question right away. Why do so many people get better when they go carnivore? They get better because they stop eating pizza, bagels, pancakes, cereal, bread, pasta, cookies, cakes, sugar, soft drinks, ice cream, and waffles. Replace modern processed food with anything found in nature, and you get similar results. You get the
Of course, Marcus, of course, when you eliminate junk food, pizza, ice cream, donuts, Twinkies, candy, all of the garbage you listed, you're going to feel better. And many people will see some healing. In fact, that's the reason many vegan folks start to feel better immediately, is because they're getting rid of that. Of course, not putting that processed, horrible garbage into our bodies anymore is going to help us to a certain extent. But it is completely incorrect. And the reason I'm saying this is because it's dangerously incorrect to suggest that that is the only reason people are healing on a carnivore diet. It is not. And I get this comment I probably had it 1,000 times on my channel. You would have done the same thing if you just eliminated all of the things that Marcus just listed there, all of the junk food. And it's not true. It is not true. And I'm going to tell you why in this video. First of all, I dropped junk food many years ago. I went on a strict whole foods, plant-based, ketogenic diet. Salad for lunch, salad for dinner, low carb, little tiny bit of protein, little bit of chicken, no red meat, no fat, nothing like that. 90% of my diet was plants. I was depressed. I had IBS. My stomach was gurgling and bubbling. I had inflammation throughout my body. I had gout so bad in my foot I could barely walk. I snored at night from that inflammation. That was without pizza. That was without junk food. For almost a year, I did that strict and as clean as you possibly could, and I was still sick. I know you're going to say, you're just an anecdote. This isn't true. I have talked to thousands of carnivores at this point. I'm doing a documentary called Healing Humanity. I've interviewed hundreds of carnivores on my YouTube channel and in the documentary I'm working on. And I've had multitudes more, hundreds of thousands of comments on my social media from different carnivores. And so many of them have done the exact same thing. They went whole foods, plant-based, or they were formerly vegan, or they went clean and they got rid of all the junk food. And yes, just like Marcus said, they felt better and they had some healing initially because they were getting rid of all of that junk. Of course, a kindergartner could understand that. It's common sense. But that isn't the whole puzzle. A huge part of the puzzle is what I'm about to tell you. Humans have been eating fatty meat since the start of time. Our brains are made of fat. Our hormones need fat. We've been having fat forever. Yes, if we were starving, we would have some vegetables, but we primarily humans. Look around in the world and use some common sense, Marcus. I live in the woods of Wisconsin. There's nothing to eat out there that's green, that's edible. Nothing. It's animals. You would kill a big deer, you would hunt an animal, and you would eat it. And then here in summertime for about 3 weeks, we have some berries, and you would eat those berries. The reason I healed on carnivores, yes, because I got rid of the junk, but also because I added back the fatty meat that our brains, our hormones, they all thrive on it. And I believe there is a deficiency of it in both my body and in the world. And it's crystal clear if you look around. Fertility issues right now are at the lowest they've ever been. Rates of depression are at the highest they've ever been. All of those things are related to our hormones. The average high school male right now, their testosterone on average is less than that of
A teenager today, an American teenager, has less testosterone than a 68-year-old man. Well, sperm counts are down 50%.
It's less testosterone than a 60-year-old man?
That's right, because the testosterone levels have dropped 50% from historic levels. And, and that is a problem, and it's an existential problem.
There is an absolute epidemic going on right now in terms of depression, anxiety, fertility issues. And it's all related to our hormones, and it's all related to the demonization of fatty meat and people not eating it anymore. And my vegan friends aren't going to like hearing that, but it is the honest truth. And leave me a comment down below. Look around in the world right now. Depression rates amongst teens. It's horrible. It's appalling. I was depressed for 15 years. I was also depressed when I was on a whole foods, plant-based diet, and I did that for a year. My depression, it didn't touch it. It wasn't until I ate the fatty meat, my hormones felt like they balanced. My testosterone went through the roof. My sleep improved, and all of those things are related to our hormones. That is the reason that so many people are healing on carnivore. And the reason I'm so passionate about this and giving this out again isn't to say I'm right and he's wrong. The reason I'm saying this is because this advice will lead people down a road of suffering for years and years and years. For me, it was almost 15 years of suffering, thinking it was just me. There's just something wrong with my brain. There's just something wrong with my hormones. There's just something wrong that I can't sleep at night. There's just something wrong that my immune system is always weak and I'm constantly getting sick. It was all just the foods I was eating. Fatty meat's been demonized for decades and decades, and it's crystal clear evident if you just use some common sense and you look around in the world right now.
The same results can heal just about anything if you eat just fruits and vegetables and greens and nuts and seeds. As long as it's found in nature, pasta, ice cream, bagels, and beer are not found in nature. One of the most important things to realize here.
As long as it's found in nature, I totally agree with him, Marcus. I totally agree with you on this. As long as it's found in nature, which you're not being honest about. Today's video is sponsored proudly by ButcherBox. They recently launched a new initiative where you can support your local USA American farmers. Support American farmers with this new U.S. pasture-raised beef from ButcherBox. This is USDA choice meat. Look at this ribeye. It's absolutely fantastic. The cows are never in feedlots. They're pasture-raised. There's no antibiotics, no hormones. You're supporting a local American farmer. I get so many people asking me, how can I do that? Now you can do it with ButcherBox. There's more details, including a really special offer if you use the link in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. Now back to today's video. Probably because you're not aware of it or you haven't put enough thought into it or you've poo-pooed it like a lot of people have. What you're advocating for is people eating nuts and seeds and plants. Go out there and eat the broccoli and eat the kale and eat the lettuce. All of those things are compromised. They are riddled with pesticides, glyphosate, atrazine. And everyone out there listening that's eating vegan and plant-based is going to get all mad at me and they're going to say, it's the dose that matters. It's such a small amount. I eat organic. 60% of organic kale tested had glyphosate on it. Glyphosate is horrible. It's absolutely destroying our guts. There's an epidemic of leaky gut going on in the world right now. Is that natural, Marcus? Because you're advocating for people to eat natural. You're telling them eat the nuts, plants, seeds, and kale. You'll probably suggest to them, well, go organics because then it's going to be cleaner. The truth is it's not. 60% of organic kale tested had glyphosate in it. Glyphosate is a weed killer and it's patented as an antibiotic. What do you think is happening, Marcus, when people are consuming antibiotics? Even if it's at a low dosage, it's the dose that matters. If they're consuming low levels of antibiotics for days, months, years, decades, I was consuming it for 15, 20 years. Every time you eat produce from the grocery store, you're ingesting glyphosate. Anytime you have a bowl of cereal with your almond milk, your healthy little Cheerios, you are consuming glyphosate. If you look at just the lettuce, what is that, like 14 calories? Like,
It's literally crunchy water.
Yeah.
With some glyphosate.
right.
Yeah.
Antibiotics in your stomach.
Yeah. Every time you eat a salad, you're eating pesticides and herbicides. Every single time you eat a bowl of cereal, you're eating glyphosate.
Yeah.
100% of the time. It is inarguable. Multiple studies have just taken random boxes of cereal from random grocery stores, glyphosate every time. When they harvest oats, they douse them with glyphosate to get it to desiccate quicker so that it saves money when they get to the factory. They don't wash that off.
In fact, in most of the United States, you go outside and take a deep breath and you're breathing in glyphosate. That is a huge issue. There's glyphosate, there's pesticides, there's atrazine, and people will take it, they'll take their apple and they'll sprinkle some little water over the apple as if that's going to get rid of all of the pesticides that have permeated into the interior of that fruit. If sprinkling water over an apple would get rid of the pesticides wouldn't be working in the first place because, newsflash, apples grow outside where there's rain. You're advocating for people to return to what is natural. That's what I'm advocating for. We agree, but what are you having people eat that is natural? Because the fruits and vegetables in the world right now are completely compromised. And then added on top of the atrazine, pesticides, and glyphosate that we're consuming and just saying it's totally fine, it's the dose that matters. Those fruits and vegetables, that apple I just talked about, it has 1/7 the nutrients it did 50 years ago. You go eat a head of lettuce right now, and the amount of energy it takes your digestive system to process that, you're not even going to get that out of the piece of lettuce you're eating. The minerals, the nutrients that used to be in this produce isn't in there anymore because we're chemical farming and we're blasting the soils and we're turning them into sand and deserts. It's absolutely grim out there. So you're advocating for people to return to what is natural. This is exactly what I'm doing. Meat is the most natural food you can eat. I'm not advocating for factory farmed, horribly raised cows. I get my meat from my neighbor for the most part. He's a 6th-generation farmer. The cows eat grass as they were intended. They graze in a natural field and they have a long life, and they have a ruminant stomach, multi-chamber stomach. So even if that grass had some overspray of, say, glyphosate or pesticides on it, which my neighbor doesn't use any of that stuff, but there could be overspray, it could be in the air. By the time it goes through those filters, the 4-stomach system in the cow, by the way, the cow was designed to eat that roughage. Humans weren't. It processes it, it pulls all of the minerals and nutrients out of it that it can, and it is in the meat, and then we eat the meat and we get all of that. We get all of the protein, we get all of the fat, and we get all of the goodness that the cow got out of the grass because it was designed to eat the grass. Humans were not designed to eat that grass. There is nothing more natural than eating ruminant meat that has been raised on a regenerative farm responsibly. There's nothing more natural, and there's nothing more compassionate either, to my vegan friends out there. Nothing. One cow dies, my family gets hundreds of meals. You go eat your salad with your lettuce and tomatoes and your cucumbers on it and every color of the rainbow, and last year 70 million birds died from pesticide poisoning. A horrible, agonizing, slow, and painful death. And that doesn't count all the squirrels, birds, foxes. Trillions of insects that died horrible, slow deaths so you could eat your salad.
Is what most people call vegan. It is not healthy. Some of the unhealthiest people in the world are vegan because all they eat is dead, highly processed junk. Bread, pizza, pasta, fake cheese, fake meat, fried food, cooked to death food, wheat, sugar, preservatives, processed oils, cereal, jam, syrup, and all that. Just keep going. None of it is natural and none of it is healthy.
He's trying to be fair. So Marcus, I love you and I'm giving you credit, my vegan counterpart friend. You're advocating for returning to what is natural. I totally agree with you. And people that are doing plant-based, they end up eating all of this processed garbage and fake cheese and fake meat and fake this and fake that. And what you're about to suggest is they should eat whole foods, plants that are clean. And the problem with your argument is people are trying to do just that, Marcus, and they are not satiated. They're not getting full. They're starving. They're hungry. They're eating, and then an hour later, they're hungry again. And an hour later, they're hungry again. Why is that? Because they're malnourished. Why is that? Because our bodies thrive on fat. Our ancestors ate meat. That's what we've been eating since the start of time. Stable isotope testing proves this. Anthropology proves this. When the agriculture revolution came about, humans shrunk. Our brains shrunk. Our bones shrunk. It's all in the fossil records. Yes, we are omnivores. As humans, we can tolerate eating lettuce. We can tolerate eating spinach. We can tolerate eating low dosages of glyphosate, atrazine, and pesticides. We can tolerate it. Just because we can tolerate eating a little bit of poison, should we? Just because we can tolerate eating whole foods that are plant-based, should we do that just for the sake of it when it's actually malnourishing our body and not giving us what we need to be optimal?
They eat junk food. They're junk food vegans. They have health issues. Very few vegans are raw vegan, but raw vegans aren't off the hook either. Most of them are basically fruitarians because fruit is sweet and it tastes good, and all they eat and drink is sweet stuff. Mangoes and bananas and watermelon and grapes and sweet, fruity smoothies and tons of orange juice. Sugar, 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 sugar. This
Sugar, 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 sugar. And why are they doing that, Marcus? Number one, because sugar is a highly addictive drug that we've given a complete pass. And I was addicted. And I believe the majority of humanity is addicted. And again, we can just go to simply using our own two eyes. And this is something a kindergartner can figure out when they look around in the world. 70% of people are overweight or obese. 9 out of 10 people have poor metabolic health. We have children walking around with fatty liver disease. We have people, when you go to the grocery store, that are getting limbs amputated because they are so addicted to the sugar. What happens when you're eating plants only? Carbohydrates. Those things all break down in our blood as glucose. You're jonesing for more and more and more sugar, and you're trying to eat clean, and you're trying to eat raw, and you're trying to do good, and you're absolutely destroying your liver. Absolutely overloading your liver. Never throughout the history of mankind have we eaten the amount of fruit out of season multiple times a day, over and over and over again, just absolutely ravaging our livers and destroying our livers. So much of our health is rooted in our liver, and we're absolutely destroying it by doing something that's never been done throughout the history of mankind.
is also not natural. If you were plopped in nature and you were forced to survive, you would not find a lot of sweet stuff. Most of what you'd find out there would be bland or
Exactly. And the banana that someone's eating 2 or 3 times a day, if you look at an original banana, man has perverted it. It used to have seeds in it. It was disgusting. It was bitter. It wasn't sweet like it is now. An apple used to be this big, Marcus. An apple today is this big. It's been perverted by man to be a big ball of sugar, hits our bloodstream, converts to glucose, and we're jonesing for more sugar, and that addiction perpetuates. And then we blame people, and we blame them and tell them, why couldn't you just moderate? Like giving an alcoholic a shot and then saying, why couldn't you just have that one shot and moderate? It is a problem of addiction.
even bitter. And bitter is actually good for you. It stimulates digestion and it helps clean the liver. Sweet stuff feeds bacteria, fungus, yeast, mold, and parasites, and fruit is half glucose, half fructose. Those are sugars. The body cannot use fructose, so the liver has to work overtime to convert it to glucose so the body can use it.
Exactly. And we're completely overloading our livers. And even people that aren't raw fruit, that eat it all the time, like Marcus is saying, the majority of humanity is eating way too much fruit, completely out of season, over and over again. The fruit has been sweetened beyond belief, and it's wrecking our livers. And that is why, if you look around and you ask a family medicine doctor, I had one on my channel before, Dr. Nelson, he's been practicing family medicine for 40 years. He has seen hundreds of thousands of patients. And I said, what sort of troubling trends have you seen over your career over 40 years? And he said, well, you hear diabetes and you hear this and you hear that. But the thing that is just rampant right now that isn't talked about a lot is fatty liver disease. People are dying from fatty liver disease. Jen and I recently lost a really close friend to fatty liver disease, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Our livers are being completely overloaded.
Do not misquote me here. I am not saying to not eat fruit. There's nothing wrong with eating fruit, but you can't live your whole life eating nothing but sweet fruit. Even monkeys know to eat half green and half fruit.
So, Marcus, you're telling people, listen, I know you're addicted to this highly addictive fruit. It's just sugar. You're addicted to sugar. Sugar lights up the brain like cocaine on an MRI. Have a little bit of cocaine. Don't have a lot.
Okay, number two. The paleo argument. People think paleo means cavemen with spears hunting woolly mammoths, right? And they were healthy and had long lives, and we should eat like them too. Well, scientific studies analyzing paleo poop found most of what they actually ate was plants and roots. They scavenged whatever.
Scientific studies. Okay, I could flop up a whole bunch of scientific studies on the screen that show that stable isotope testing shows that we ate primarily meat. We could show fossil records, anthropology records that humans primarily ate meat.
Good. It's a lot easier to sneak up on a berry bush or some roots than an animal.
Yes, because the prevalence of berry bushes are just everywhere. Again, I just want people to use common sense and just think wherever you are in the world right now, look out your window and how much fruit and vegetables and roots are there out there to eat. I live in a beautiful wilderness of Wisconsin. There's like nothing out there. And we get a little bit of mushrooms and they're completely poisonous and they'll kill you. We do get a little bit of blackberries seasonally for like 3 weeks. That's it. It would have been meat all year long and then just a little bit of fruit.
And yes, they did eat some animal foods, which what they did when they could, but
When they did, when they could. Okay, yeah, we're just frolicking around in the woods eating all endless berries every single day. It's craziness. It's just complete, utter nonsense.
the average lifespan of a paleo caveman was around 30 years. That doesn't sound like the fountain of youth to me.
So I enjoyed what Marcus was saying up until this point because he's being disingenuous and misleading. So the average paleo man lived to be 30 years old. Okay, well, when we talk about averages back in the day, this is how averages work. A lot of babies died during childbirth back then. There were other things that caused people to die at a younger age. That would bring the average down. That isn't to say that everyone would get to 30 and they'd be all wrinkled and then they'd pass out and they would die.
Okay, the human body can survive in just about anything. It's one of the most amazing machines ever created. Not many creatures on this world can adapt as much as we can in order to survive. Now, notice I said the word survive, not thrive. There was a guy who ground up his car into a powder and then he ate it. He ran it through his body and he survived. Then he says, oh, this is great. Then he did the same thing with a small airplane. Now, does that mean we're supposed to eat cars and airplanes? The body is very forgiving. It's
I love this argument because, as I said earlier, that man ground up his car and ate it. He could actually tolerate and survive eating his car. And that is what the majority of humanity is doing right now. Most people are getting it wrong because they're eating all the processed junk. And I totally agree with Marcus on this. We need to get rid of all of the processed junk. But then a lot of people flip over to the other side and they're eating a bunch of plants and roughage and it's riddled with glyphosate, atrazine, and pesticides, and they're tolerating it. And then they say to me, you're only eating meat, you're absolutely thriving. I'm down 100 pounds since my heaviest. I overcame depression, anxiety. I'm off all my medications. I've been eating carnivore for well over 2 years now. I'm absolutely thriving. And they will say to me, well, why don't you could probably handle some broccoli. Why? Just because I can tolerate it, just like I could tolerate grinding up my car or an airplane and eating it, just because we can tolerate something doesn't mean we should. If I was lacking for something, I've had all my blood work done. I'm literally lacking for nothing. I didn't go to the doctor and have 3 different sets of blood work done. None of that blood work did the doctor ever say to me, oh, gee, you're really lacking in whatever nutrients is in broccoli. I need you to eat more broccoli. I was lacking for nothing. I'm absolutely lacking for nothing. Why is that? Because again, I'm eating ruminant animals. Those animals are designed to eat the roughage. They extract the minerals and nutrients and all the good stuff out of the roughage. I eat the meat. I also get the fatty meat and protein and everything that that animal consumed. I get it all in a nice little package called a fatty ribeye, and I'm absolutely thriving. Just because I can tolerate eating something else doesn't mean I should.
so why is it so easy for carnivores to get big muscles so easily? Well, most of them eat beef, right? And dairy, which contain hormones that makes a cow grow to be 2,000 pounds. So yes, if you eat it, it makes you grow too. The term beef eater, that alcohol, comes from the Queen's Guards in Old England. They were fed beef so they could be bigger and stronger than the average.
Because when we eat beef, we're bigger and stronger. I don't eat dairy. I don't do any dairy at all, and I don't advocate for it either. I believe milk from a cow is intended for a baby. I believe milk is for babies. That's what I say when someone says, can't you have milk? Yes, I could tolerate milk. I'm sure I could, but milk is for babies. But why do we get muscles and grow? Because we're apex predators and we're supposed to be thriving, and we eat meat and we end up thriving.
But those same amino acids, glutamine, arginine, choline, and hormones like IGF-1 that makes you grow also makes anything else grow inside you, also like your prostate or cancer. But you're under 50 and you don't care, right? Because you lost your fat, you have energy, you don't get sick anymore, and you feel on top of the world.
All right. This is where I get upset. Okay, so eating meat is going to cause cancer. We've been eating meat since the start of time. Now all of a sudden it's going to cause cancer. I have said this over and over in the comments, and I'll say it again right here. I'm not a rich man. Out of my own personal funds, out of my own personal savings, I will give anybody $1,000, including Marcus. I will PayPal you, Marcus, right now, $1,000. If you can show me one legitimate scientific study that proves that if we consume meat, we're going to get cancer, because that's what you just suggested. That is fear-mongering propaganda with absolutely no science behind it whatsoever. Show me a legit study. Anyone watching this right now, show me a legit study that shows that eating excessive amounts of protein or meat is going to cause cancer. You can't do it because there isn't one legit study that does that. And when you dig into these studies, they're all absolute trash, garbage science, often funded by someone with ulterior motives to get you to buy Beyond Meat or some fake meat or garbage like that. These studies classify meat as lasagna, spaghetti. Did you go to McDonald's last week? Oh, yeah, I went to McDonald's. I got the combo meal #2. So you had a big burger where the patty was about paper thin, a little wafer was about this big, a little tiny patty of meat. You had a huge bun with 200 ingredients on it. You had cheese that isn't even cheese. You had ketchup that's full of high fructose corn syrup and food dyes. You had probably a pound of French fries next to it, a gallon of Coke with 265 ingredients in it. You had ice cream afterwards. There was no cream in that. It wasn't even ice cream at all. It was some sort of chemical concoction. And all of that gets a complete pass. And that meat, that little burger puck, that little tiny wafer, that's what causes the cancer. Not all those other chemicals and ingredients. The meat that we've been eating for as long as we've been breathing air and drinking water, Marcus, suddenly that is going to cause the cancer. And not all of those other ingredients, by the way, that you're advocating for. They're all plant-based. They're all plant-based. And what do you think is going to happen? You look right now, today, 1,600 people died from cancer. If what you're saying is true, Marcus, uh, meat has been demonized for decades now. The consumption of meat is down. The incidence of cancer is going up. 1,600 people die every single day from cancer as we are consuming more and more glyphosate, pesticides, atrazine, unnatural things. There's environmental things too. There's toxins in the air. Smoking cigarettes will give you cancer. It all goes back to your earlier point, and that is we're doing things that aren't natural. And while it seems from a high level, very quickly, without putting any thought into it, fruits and vegetables, that's the most natural thing in the world. And then you dig into it more and you realize they are all compromised. And we are actually bioaccumulating these pesticides in our bodies for years and years and decades and decades. Everyone knows you shouldn't be consuming antibiotics for any long period of time, yet most people don't realize they're consuming low dosages of antibiotics. Glyphosate is patented as an antibiotic. You can Google that right now, for years and years and decades and decades. Meanwhile, depression, unprecedented levels, fertility rates are in the ground, and the rates of cancer are going through the roof despite billions and billions of dollars spent on cancer research, cancer prevention. We're seeing more and more people dying from it over and over again. And by the way, heart disease is still the #1 killer. I've lost so many loved ones to heart disease. None of them were eating a carnivore diet. All of them were eating mostly plants. When you get down to it, they have a little bit of protein, and 90% of their diet was plants. I mean, sugar is derived from plants. It's all plant-based. And it's a much larger problem. So I'm going to end it here because I could go on for an hour, but this started out kind of fair and balanced, and it led into the propaganda, which I don't like. I believe that this gentleman means well, but the argument that people are only healing on carnivore because they're getting rid of the junk is completely false. It's a big part of the puzzle, but there's also another equally large part of the puzzle, and that is returning to what we've done since the start of time. Our brains are made of fat. Our hormones need the fat, and it's been demonized for decades. And as we've gotten further and further away from it, we see fertility rates dropping. We're seeing testosterone in young men dropping. We're seeing depression going through the roof, and we're seeing chronic disease like we've never seen it before. Yes, if you're eating the standard American diet, go plant-based. Go carnivore. You're going to get healing just from getting rid of that junk. I agree with my vegan counterparts. Get rid of all of that processed junk. It's a huge step in the right direction, but you're still going to suffer, and you're going to end up like so many of these people that he's criticizing here that end up being fruitarians. You're going to destroy your liver. You're going to end up with fatty liver. You're going to end up with a wrecked gut, a permeable gut, leaky gut, which leads to depression and downstream issues because you can't moderate that sugar addiction. And these fruits are nothing like they used to be, and they're completely overwhelming our livers. So I hope that helps people. I wasn't trying to do this video just to get into an argument and say, I'm right, this guy's wrong. If I'm wrong, tell me in the comments. I want to learn more. I believe this gentleman's heart is in the right place. But I don't want to lead people down the path that I went down, years and years of suffering, thinking they're doing it right, and then thinking, oh, I'm just a fluke. There's just something wrong with me. I'm trying to eat all these fruits they're suggesting, but I'm addicted to them, and I'm eating too much, and then I'm eating processed junk because I'm not satiated. That's the biggest problem with these plant-based folks. They're trying really hard, they're eating a lot cleaner, but they're not getting full because they're not giving their body the proper fuel that it was designed for. Their hormones are ruined, and that's why so many of them are angry, upset, mad. You don't see carnivores like that. You see carnivores zen, carnivore zen. So leave a comment down below. What are your thoughts? Are you healing on a carnivore diet simply because you got rid of the junk, or is it deeper than that? And if you enjoyed this video and you want to watch more, please check out this video I did in the corner of the screen. Thank you so much for watching.